So, hi everyone. We're waiting for an interior design review to end, so we'll have a group of people coming in just a minute, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Amy Campos. I coordinate the lecture series here, and I teach in the interior design program. And I'm going to introduce Thomas Feichtner, our lecturer tonight. He's joining us from Vienna, Austria, where his experimental industrial, furniture, and spatial design practice is located. His work has a foundation in designed industrial goods and products for the Austrian sports industry, as well as visual communications for Swarovski Optik, Adidas Eyewear, and the designer Ron Arad. Thomas is an extremely accomplished designer in search of an independent mode of operation that goes beyond globalization and mass production. His work has been exhibited all over the world and has received international acclaim, garnering him countless international design awards, such as the IF Design Award, the Swiss Design Prize, the German Design Prize, which he's won numerous times, the Red Dot Design Award, also numerous times, the European Design Award, and the Joseph Binder Award. And those are just the ones that I could find English translations for. Just this year, and it is only the beginning of March, Thomas has been awarded the Interior Innovation Award by the German Design Council in Cologne and the Austrian State Award for Design. In addition to producing an amazing body of award-winning work, Thomas is a professor for product design at the Muthesius Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Kiel, Germany. He published his first monograph titled Thomas Feichtner, Edge to Edge with Birkhauser in 2010. He has lectured all over Europe, and we are happy to be the first to host him on the West Coast. So please join me in welcoming Thomas to CCA.
So thank you very much for this introduction. Everything is said. Thank you. I could leave. I thought how I'm gonna do this lecture today, and I thought I'm telling you stories, the background stories. So if you go on the website, you see the products and everything. So it's much easier, much better to talk about the background stories. Maybe it makes sense that you write down if you have any questions, but at the end, then the lecture stops, and then we will ask the audience, do you have any questions? And most people then are completely shocked and no questions, and that's it. So I don't mind if you write notes, and then we have a discussion. I wanted to jump in just right at the beginning because you're a student and I was a student too, and I thought I'd show you the first job I ever made as a designer. And there was a guy coming up in the classes at the University for Art and Industrial Design in Linz in Upper Austria, and a guy came in the class, and he was the owner of a company called Heavy Tools, which was the third biggest producer for snowboards. And he asked, does anybody know how to make graphic design for snowboards? And at that time, a computer just came up, and it was all about silk screening. And I raised my head and said, yes, no problem, I can do that. I had no idea, nothing. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna ask somebody how to make it. And then he asked me, do I have any examples that I can show him? Yeah, and of course I had none example. And the first thing I had was a drawing. And I showed him this drawing, and he said, okay, let's do some more things on snowboards. And so, it was my first job, not a product design, it was graphic design. And so I did the graphic design on snowboards. In painting and different things. Yeah. And at the time, the computer had just, 16 colors, something like this. So it was like on the Apple Classic. And for example, that's a snowboard from 1994, and maybe you see it. It has little dots, and it was delivered with pens, and you can follow the dots with a pen and make your own graphic design on the snowboard. And then I'm going through this station very fast. I made snowboard bindings, and unfortunately, after 1.5 years, the owner of the company died while jogging in the age of about 40. And the company still exists and the brand still exists, but they stopped producing snowboards in high numbers and ski bindings. But another company asked me to make a snowboard binding, which mainly functioned like a ski binding. So what I made is this product, and as you see a little bit, it already came into ages. But the company was very interesting, and they made ski bindings for centuries. Yes, centuries? No, decades. And there was also a designer called Karl Auberg, which is a very important, or was a very important designer in Austria, and he made this ski binding. So I wanted to also make a ski binding, and what I did is that one, and till now, it became the most sold ski binding in the world ever, and this is. And Tyrolia, the company, is the producer for ski bindings, the biggest producer for ski bindings. And that's a machine. This machine is specially made to make this ski binding. It's very complicated to tell, but it's a machine which forms a wire in a way that you can, it works like a spring. The wire works like a spring. And what I made next is the whole collection of the production, and this is a picture. This is 1 year old, the picture, and the machine is running since 1997, and still it runs, and it closes and opens every, 10 seconds, and this is the ski binding, and still in use. And I made another binding. I wanted to show you this one, and for Fischer, that's just the toe piece, and here's the ski binding. And I wanted to make a complete new form for the ski binding with Fischer, and they they was not happy about it, because at that time all products were very, let's say, organic, in an organic form, in a very smooth form, and it didn't want to make it like that, and I convinced them to make it like that, and the binding is called FX10, and that's the reason I called later on furniture which I made in the same year also FX10. So you see some sketches also, formal sketches in a way, drawings, and the making of it. This is in the model shop, and this is a newer binding, also for Fischer. And you see here a little bit from the production line. It's powder coated, and with some other products like a marker stamp for firefighting companies and so on. I go through this a little bit faster. Generator, watch, pen, ski. I worked for Head, and this ski is made by Howard Head in Maryland, USA, and it's part of the collection in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And this company then moved in the 60s to Austria, and therefore the company Head made some skis, and the skis collection, and this was also a first experience together with a company. For the white ski is the less expensive ski, and the black ski is a very expensive ski. And in between there are a lot of other skis, which I don't show here. And it was a complete failure from my side, and people said, yeah, I did wrong, because they couldn't sell the expensive piece anymore because they look so equal. Yeah, and from the marketing side, it's much better if you make a lot of difference, and the cheap product looks cheap, and the expensive product looks expensive. But anyhow, here's some other skis. You can drive in different direction. Anyhow, I have to stop here. And at that time, I was very disappointed about design, about my work in general. It was mainly about the sports industry, but also the job that I did was not product design, it was styling, making product look better, to sell better in the shop. Yeah. And so I knew at that time, and it was at the end of my 20s, I have to change my life completely, and I have to follow some other way. And I worked with the companies in my area around, and yeah, I didn't know what to do next. So I changed completely my life, and so my career is not a straight line. I changed, I did some other way and changed back again to graphic design, and I want to show you some examples of that, and to graphic design and a little bit also advertising. For example, then I asked the company for which were producing the ski bindings also to produce. Also to make the graphic design for the catalogs or for the booth on the fair, or also the advertisement. I should translate it. The picture on the right says if you don't have a Tyroler binding, you shouldn't overdo it. If you don't have a Tyroler binding, I see a person going with their normal skis on a ski pipe ramp. Yeah. So then it went also to other companies in sport industry, like a German company called Bogner, from Willy Bogner, and from the eyewear to other companies like Adidas, making a whole series of advertising promoting the sunglasses for sports. Different way, you see catalogs and so on. And then I have to change my life again, staying in graphic design, but I was very unhappy because all I did in my life at that time was sport industry. And look at me, I'm not a sportsman. I was completely wrong in that. And even I quit snowboarding. I was skateboarding in my school times. Then I quit snowboarding. I quit skiing. I'm not a sportsman. I was not familiar with it. My interests were much more into art. So this is a museum in Upper Austria, and it's a museum for modern and contemporary art. And as you see, the architecture of the building, it's like a block, and in the middle, it's like a hole cut out of the building. And for this museum, we made a very simple advertisement. In them, we called it Egon, like Egon Schiele, Gustav Klimt, or Andy Warhol. We made the typography and cut it out in the same way like the architecture is, and also made a spot, but this one is too complicated to explain. Then also there was a cafe nearby the museum, and this is the sets for the cafe, and you can hold it in front of your mouth and make the mouth of the Mona Lisa, and we had another one with the ear of Van Gogh. This is a bag, also for a friend of mine. He has a store for selling glasses, and he asked me to do something with the shop, and I recommended him to make a bag, and I didn't want the payment for that. and he filled up the bag with these glasses, and I have for about 50 or 60 glasses of them, so I have never to change my glasses again in my life. And but these are very cheap. Yeah, they cost 20 to 20 euros each. So that's he could afford it. Yeah. This is also graphic design for a festival in Upper Austria. Also graphic design. Go through that also a little bit faster. This is for Red Nose. I don't know if you have it here. That's clowns going into hospitals to make kids smile again. Or this one says, your spending is for laughing, and it says for laughing for the children. And the other one is a Christmas, was advertising in a newspaper for the Christmas time, for giving back a smile on Christmas. Yeah. Also, this one is for a theater, and this one a prize in Cannes for the advertising festival. And for example, this is also for a theater, and it says the one is for the winter time, and the other one is for the summertime. And the other one says for the snow desert, and the other one says sunburn. No. And this is just for a friend, a poster. So at 18 o'clock we all go and making a barbecue. I'm going through this a little bit faster. This is an advertising for not to drink too much alcohol if you're young. And this is about drugs about drugs hanging and drinking too much and eating too much. And on the Marlboro cigarette package, it says, not Marlboro, it says having no power. Yeah. Well, this is, I go through this. In 2009, Linz was also a capital of culture in Europe, and this was the corporate design for the festival, and in different ways, in books, in different kinds. And in German, you also can say the Nabel der Welt, which means the center of the world. But the Nabel is the hole in the stomach. I don't know how to say in English, but this one is then that. Yeah. So this corporate design went through a lot of pieces, a lot of documentation, even through wine bottles. And on the right side, you see the schnapps bottle. And with the schnapps bottle, we printed like the CMYK, but not exactly, a little bit crossed over. So it's like you're drunk. The graphic design looks like you already drank it. And there's some more going into different poster designs. Yeah, and this was 52 posters every week for the whole year. It was another poster, and it was about rescuing the world. And every poster has a different theme. For example, you see sex in the city, yeah, and then the copy text says it takes you the time of watching Sex in the City to make a lesson with the Red Cross, yeah, and so on. It's hard to explain. So I'm sitting down a little bit. Yeah, this is in Miami. I was going with my wife to Miami and just to the art fair, the Art Basel in Miami. And there we met Ron Arad by accident. I don't know how to say. Yeah, accident. And he invited us to his opening show in the design district, and we went there, and nobody was there. It was completely empty. It was not well communicated, and he made 72 tables out of steel, and he made them on the floor and going to the walls. And so I asked Ron Arad, so why don't we make a project out of that and go into print? And so I made the graphic design for a book about this project. And I was printing it in the same steel chrome print, and positive and negative, and also with white, and with printing with different materials. So I have to stop again. Stop. And my life changed again. So I wanted to go out of advertising. I didn't want to make graphic design anymore. It was nothing which had bring me further. I was stopping at that point. I was doing always the same thing, and I thought, okay, I have to change my life again. What I did is a girlfriend of my wife, she was working in Shanghai, and I asked her if she wanted to take a journey with me together through China from Shanghai to Hong Kong in this area. And so we did, and I was very curious about what's going on there at that time. At that time, all the designers had an office in China and wanted to go to China somehow, and I wanted to know what is it about. And so it was a 2 weeks journey, and after the first day I really knew what to do in my life, and I did not go further on to connect with other companies in China. I knew that my travel is more like a journalist traveling. And these two pictures are from Shanghai, and of course the pictures are not really fair. China is a big country, and the culture of China is even older than the culture of Europe. But for me, the impression was that it's not that the companies producing in China are producing in China not because of China, just because of it's cheap. And they have no regulation about protecting the nature. And so when I got back, I knew what to do next in my life. I wanted to make design just with companies nearby. I wanted to make design with companies in my street, in my area. And I'm living in Vienna, in a old district of Vienna. So I want to find out what happened if I make design just in front, in a small scale, not with big companies, not going international, not traveling, and so on. What happened? So Vienna is a city which was a quite big city 100 years ago. It was the third biggest city in the world at that time, after London and New York. And in Vienna there was a lot of handcraft companies. Yeah? So I wanted to work with handcraft companies and see what happens there. So the first thing was, of course, a chair. And so what I did is I took a cardboard and cut it out the chair and made a drawing on that and tried if this would work. And went to a friend of mine. He is selling displays made out of aluminum. And I asked him, can't we make a chair? So we made a series of 20 chairs in that kind. And this was 2006. And it was just black and white. And what I did then is I thought, okay, I need to show this chair in Milan. Where else? And I have a good friend of mine living in Milan, and I called him and said, okay, the Milan fair is going on in a few weeks. Where can I really show it? And he asked, okay, if you show a chair, you have to go to the Triennale di Milano and ask there. And so I did, and they said, yeah, it's very hard to get the space there, but they have a space. and we got the opportunity to show the pieces at the Triennale in Milan at that time. And there were a lot of people passing by, and a lot of discussion came, and we made it very easily. We had no exhibition architecture, nothing, and so we just put up lamps, floors, that's it, took the chairs, and made it very simple. And so this chair went on to other exhibitions, and this is in the MAC in Vienna, or in Prague, at the National Gallery in Prague, or in Stuttgart. And this one is in London for the London Design Festival at Truman Brewery in the Brickland. And this is in Košice in Slovakia. Oh, and this is in the water. This is, I can tell you something later on with that picture. It changed a lot, and for me, making a piece and showing it, and at that moment, there was a lot of interest going on about that product, and I thought, okay, that's a very simple way to try something and to show it. And another thing I tried was to make a cutlery, a flatware cutlery, and it was about. I was joining a lecture about design, and the people said, "Oh, if you combine design with a company, then it really works, and companies need design and so on." And it's just focusing that design is like a marketing tool, and design is nothing else. So I was not very convinced about that, and in this conference there was a poster with a cutlery from Karl Aubeck, and I thought, okay, who is producing cutlery in Austria? Austria is a very small country, and I didn't find any company producing it. And I wanted, at that time, then I decided, okay, I wanted to design a cutlery. So I did, and that's what I made, and this is just a computer rendering and nothing else. And I put it on the website on 2006, and 3 days later, the magazine Wallpaper in London called and said, "Can you please bring us the cutlery, send us the cutlery within the next 24 hours? We have to have it for a photo shoot." And I said, "Of course, that's no problem. And I can send it, but maybe you can give me some more hours." But they did not. They said, "Okay, we need it in 24 hours." So I asked again a friend of mine, a few streets nearby where I'm living, and asked him to make the cutlery overnight. And this was a time just before Christmas, and he really had a lot to do as a silversmith. And I said, okay, I just manage everything else. I go for the beer, I go for the cigarettes, I go for the coffee, and I can polish and do some stupid work, but we have to do it for over the night. So we did, and in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the morning, it was finished, it was done, and I sent it to London, and it was in the wallpaper. It was a red night photo shooting. I'm sorry, I have no pictures of that now, but this picture was made in that night. But later on, there was a lot of media interests about the cutlery. I thought, okay, what does it really take to make it work? Because this cutlery, to be honest, didn't work at all. It was not ergonomic, and you couldn't eat, you couldn't really put it in the mouth, and it was senseless. And then I found out it's very easy to make it work. And I made, again, little cardboard models, and at the end also stereolithography, a print, a 3D print. And I tried it, and it's just adjustment, a few millimeters, and then it worked. And then again, I showed it first in New York at the ICFF, and at that time also another Austrian company, the Wiener Silbermanufaktur, which is translated the Viennese silver manufacturer, is wanted to produce it, and so we did, and this was the first product. But at the end, it changed a little bit, and then it needed to make a tooling for the silver, for the pressing. And you see a little bit of the pressing. And that's the whole series. And to be honest, it's still, people don't buy it because they think it doesn't work. But I don't really mind about it. It's cutlery collectors buy it. And there are quite a lot in the world. And they want to have it, and they buy it, but they just buy a fork, a knife, and a spoon. And later on, I decided to make another cutlery again, but not in silver, but in steel. And this one was then for mass production. I show you later on. Well, this is in an exhibition in the MAC. Okay, this is something else. That's a cardboard model of the furniture. Also 2006 I made für die neue Wiener Werkstätten, which is the cardboard model. Again, a picture, because the cardboard model just looked almost equal to the concrete piece on the floor where the skateboarders jump over it. And this guy is not jumping over it, he's jumping on the side of it. But the idea of that product was to make a product. You can see it on the last sketch down on the bottom. To make a chair where you can separate it, all the pieces completely, and you can assemble it again. And the advantage of it, you can, if you separate one piece, you can make the tapestry with the leather just by itself without sewing anything. So the furniture should be something without sewing something. So this is the cardboard model and the wood model again. And here in the wood model you see in between a line where the leather comes in. You see it later on. And then now it's produced completely different. It's now a lighter construction because the shipping is very expensive, and it was not possible to ship it to the US. Now, since 2 years, they also ship it to the US because of it's much lighter now and costs less money to ship it. And here on the right picture, you can see it how it works. So it's piece by piece. They just tuck it like around, and then it works. And you see here there's no sewing around, and it's just the leather, and that's it. From different sides. An exhibition. This is for the Salzburger Festspiele in Salzburg for the broadcasting company of Austria. This is in Tokyo, and down there in London. And this is by at the upholstery, and this again is a picture I'll tell you later on. Another furniture was a table chair, and the idea was to make a table as the first function, as the main function, and you have it as a table next to your couch. And one time in a year for Christmas, the whole family is coming together. And then you can use it as an extra chair just by opening it. You take it, tuck, and open it, and that's it. And it's called the table chair, and it works quite well. This is something different. It's glasses, and here you see the making of the glasses. And the idea was to fill up a glass, not in a conventional way, but to bring the liquid into the glass, and the weight of the liquid is on the bottom. And therefore it gives much more stability to a glass, that you can make it much smaller at the bottom, touching the ground. So the glass works quite well, but it still looks very unstable. but I like it very much the way it is, because the instability is something which is in architecture, for example, something we really think we're really happy if we see a house coming over a mountain, out of a mountain, and you don't see how it works. But in design, it always has to be like you see how it works. And in that case, it's completely different. You don't see it how it works. Otherwise, you have to use it, and then you find out, okay, it works quite well. And with that, we made a complete series, but also not with glasses, also with bowls. And this is a black glass over a translucent glass, which was nice to see how to make it. And this is in translucent. And this is graving, and also in silver. And this is made also by a silversmith. I almost could see from my house to the silversmith. It's just across the street. These are lamps. They're actually made for Kundalini in Milan, and they should have presented a few years ago, 2007, but then they were too expensive to make, so there are still only these two prototypes existing. And then there was shown, this one is in New York, and there was with the Surface magazine in New York at the Meatpacking District. They made a show on the street, and this was for a week, and it was protected by guides staying there all night long. And they said that nobody's going to steal anything because the house in the back is owned by the Italian mafia, and nobody will touch anything. I don't have to mind. Yeah? So it worked. This is a teapot. This is a cardboard model of a teapot, and this is a teapot. And to be honest, I did not study design to make a teapot. I mean, this is not my profession to make a teapot. But in the Vienna silver manufacture, if you go in, even the machines are under historical protection, and the tooling, some of the tooling are 200 years old. And you see that they made a lot of teapots, for example, for Josef Hoffmann or Prutscher or many others, Viennese designers. And so I wanted to make a teapot too. And at that time, tea drinking was like smoking hash. Yeah, it was forbidden, and it was nobody knew how the tea drinking can change your life. And in Vienna, there was like a salon, tea salon, people coming together, drinking tea, and the teapots were all the time like architectonical icons, like mini architecture. And so the teapots were always some ahead, always avant-garde pieces. So that's the reason I wanted to make a teapot, and you see variations of it with paper. And here's the brass model, because first you make a brass model because the silver is quite expensive, and see if everything is work and the mechanism and everything works. And here on the table you see the silver and the brass model, and even the paper model, cardboard model. And that's how it looks like. And this is Mr. Schmidt. He is the master, and in the back of him you see the whole tooling, and some of the tooling is really old, and you see the Josef Hoffmann writing on it and so on. So that's quite also very worthy. So this is my wife and my son in 2008. And in my family, it's kind, I don't know, if a child comes to birth, you give the wife a ring for a present, as a present. So this is not very sensible. But I wanted to give a ring to my wife for the birth of our son. So I decided to design a ring, but I wanted not to use a diamond, and because 2 reasons: I couldn't afford it, and the second one, I have anyhow my problems taking diamonds. So I thought of making a construction around the finger. So I did, and what I give her was this ring, and here on the hand of my wife, and yeah, from different sides. And then we had a lot of people writing emails and calling. They want to have a ring such like this, and we always said, no, there's only one existing, and because of the love to my wife, and all the people said, oh, so, how romantic. And this is a drawing for a bottle of water for a company who's producing water bottles. And what I presented to the company was this bottle, but it never came to production. But I still show it because I like it, and I took these sketches later on for something completely different, for a different product. These are small models in a scale of 1 to 5 for a chair. The making of the chair in wood. This is a company in the center of Vienna. It's called Lobmeier, also a very old company, producing big chandeliers, crystal chandeliers, and glasses, drinking glasses. And they asked me to cooperate, and I wanted to make something completely different. In this house, it goes up, 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 and there are a lot of glasses. And everything I saw was very thin glass, everything translucent, and everything they said, oh, it's so fine, it's so fine. Yeah. So what I wanted to make is completely the opposite of it. And I wanted to make thick glass, and I didn't want to blow it, and I wanted to take a colored glass. These again, cardboard models. You see, I like it very much to make cardboard models because of the proportions, and you can make it without making a lot of mess. Yeah. What I did is this glass, and it's not blown. It's, I don't know how to say in English, it's turned, yeah. It takes half a day to make a glass, but they work quite well, and they made it in a positive and in a negative, positive and negative. And they also asked me to make glasses which are not able to copy, because they are copied very often in industrial production, but they are producing very blown, handmade. And so I also made this thin line around, and with that line you only can do it if you turn it, and not if you blow it. Yeah. So this is again a picture, and this is on purpose that it's turned around. It was again a cardboard model for a pendant lamp, and the pendant lamp was in black, and underneath is a wire construction, and the fabric is a tricot fabric, and it's black. And I like it very much, the thought of bringing a black piece to light. Yeah? And if you turn it on and the other one off, it changes completely. It makes the one positive and the other negative, and just you have the wireframe, and the wireframe exactly are on the edges. So I did something like this again with the door, and the door has an inner side construction, and in the outside glass is just glass. And if you close the door, and inside of the house is the light comes outside, and if outside is the light and inside, if it's day, it goes the other way. So you can always take a look through the door somehow. This is also a door with another door. And not for that door, but I made also door handles for FSB in Germany, which has a high tradition of designing door handles with Mendini and I think Michael Graves, Philip Stark, and so on. But I wanted to make something different in an angle. So, and this is again cardboard model, and this is a model too for couch, which is not produced yet. This was a project 2009, and what you see is 5 different places. And the project was a Pixel Hotel for the 2009 was capital of culture, as I mentioned, in Europe. And it was meant to have several hotel rooms spread all over the city like pixels. And one is in a ship, then one is in a garage, one is in a house, and so on. So having completely different hotel rooms. And they asked me to make a hotel room in a gallery, and the gallery was very just a concrete floor and white, and that's it. And it was very uncomfortable to make a hotel room in that space. So what I decided is, maybe you know Maya the Bee. It's a series from the 70s, a cartoon series from the 70s. And the Maya the Bee was swimming always in the clay of a flower. And I thought, okay, this is the most comfortable way of sleeping somehow. And I wanted to make the bed in the hotel room like a flower somehow. I put it on 3 legs, and it has 3 leaves. And then the construction was in the gallery here, and in the back room. And the back room was pretty cold. And in this cold room, I don't want it that you're sleeping on the floor, because the room was also built a little bit into the mountain, and it was very cool and cool and wet, not wet, but humid. And and you can climb at it with a stair on one side, and then you can sit on it. And there were I don't know, about 300 people spending the night in the bed for 1 year. And I also had the opportunity to spend 1 night in the bed. And now it's in the Museum of Applied Art in Vienna. And I'm very happy about it, because I didn't know where to put it. And I needed to throw it away. And it was very simple build it. It's just a wood and then painted. Yeah, very simple. And the leaves are with the artificial leather. Yeah. Well, for this hotel room, I also made a table with steel polished, and a chair. And the chair is also called Pixel Chair because of the Pixel Hotel. And with this chair, I wanted to make this positive and negative, like a sinus and cosinus, going up and down and up and down. But very hard to make in stainless steel. So at the end, it was more edgy. And but the chair was still working fine for that hotel room. Here from the other side. Here you see it a little bit from the making, also with the cardboard, very easy to make. And on the right side, you see it already the stainless steel pieces. And also made the bathroom for the hotel room in the gallery, and it was a very not beautiful bathroom. And I covered it completely with Eternit. You know Eternit? Like a fiber cement wall, and I made it on the floor, on the wall, and everything, the complete thing. And this was almost black. And if you came in from the white into the black, you didn't see anything. But you get used after seconds. You get used to the black. And if you go out from the black to the white, you're completely blended. And I liked it very much, this visual border from very light to very dark, and again, back again. This was a briefing from a company, Blaha, which makes office furniture. And this briefing that's just a part of the briefing, and they wanted to make wanted me to make a system for office furniture, and this was so complicated, and to be honest, I couldn't take it, and then I met the company and asked the company, okay, please, I only want to meet not the product managers and the CEOs. I want to meet the people who produce it and the people who sell it. And then we had a conference with that, and I was talking to them, and I found out that the system was that complicated because whenever somebody wanted a special piece for a special corner in the office, they created a new product. Yeah, and on the other hand, the measurements, all the measurements for office furniture comes from the paper measurements, and for the files putting into the office furniture. So the paper is the basic measurement where everything, all the measurements follow. And I thought this couldn't be right. And I thought the person should be the measurement. So the person should be the center of all measures. So I decided to make a system where you can have a seating height, a working height, a standing working height, and even you can grab a grabbing height. And what I made is very simple. It's just a measurement, and that's it. And what you see is the design challenge is not the product you see. The design challenge is not making other products. They wanted glass, closing glass. They wanted to make it like opening and closing like this and so on, with a roll and so on. And I quit everything completely, and now they have the possibility to work on stack, and they have the possibility to order very easily, because people who wanted to make office furniture in the office, they don't want a person to come and to organize and to make the measurements and everything. For those people, it's much easier to go to IKEA, because not of the cheap product, just because they have the measurements on the internet. They know which sizes, which colors, and everything. They can organize it by themselves. So this is a system which is mostly can people organize by themselves, and so the measurements are very easily. And yeah, you have 3 different types. You can open it as a drawer, or open it in a different ways. Yeah, here's an office. Okay, something completely different. That's the museum, a museum in Upper Austria, and a state gallery in Linz. And a professor of mine he's a very famous artist for for art. Concrete art is the wrong term. Konkrete Kunst, like art, like Max Bill, you know. And anyhow, he's very famous, and he has published 20 books in 20 years. Every year he published a book, and they asked me for a space in the museum to present the 20 books. And they thought, okay, I should make something which a computer animation, where you can just by your hand you can follow into the pages of the book. And I said, no, let's make it completely analog and not digital, and make something to sit. So you can read the books, and putting the books also on a pedestal, because they are a piece of history already, but you have to sit there and take them and really read them. So I made a seat, but also a pedestal. And here you see on the left picture the 4 books. It was 5 seats, and in each seat were 4 books, and they're completely inlaid in the surface. So if you go in it with a thumb, you just take them out, and that's it. You see here some pictures of this installation. So this is something, again, completely different. It was an exhibition of 1980 in Linz in Austria, and at that time I was 10 years old and not interested in design. But it was the biggest design exhibition ever in Austria. And it was a big tent, as you can see, and every section of the tent was meant some other designers to show the pieces. It was the first time that Ettore Sotzes, for example, showed 2 years before Memphis. He showed some kind of anti-design pieces. The cafe on the back, you see it on the black and white. On one end there is the cafe. It's made by Christopher Alexander, and the opening speech was made by Raymond Loewy, American designer, and it was Alessandro Mendini, for example, showing it this first time, and so on. It was the who is who at that time of design was presenting their pieces. And it was this was at the opening, and the architecture was made by Lauritz Ortner, and he made it like the Crystal Palace of the World Exhibition in Paris. Yeah. And this was one room in the museum, and the museum wanted to make an exhibition about the exhibition of 1980. And they wanted to make this exhibition in 2009. And they said, okay, we have to show some designer. And we take an Austrian designer and asked me to show the work there. But this would be, and I told them this wouldn't work, really would work, because there are such big names, and they made in these rooms always installations. And it doesn't work if some designer shows the work in it. It doesn't compare to the exhibition. But the organizer of the exhibition was Helmut Gsöllpointner, maybe you know him, and he is a designer and sculptor in metal sculptures, and he said there's a company producing his metal sculptures, and they also do the tooling, the steel tooling for crates for beer bottles and water bottles and so on, plastic crates. And I should follow him. So we were at the company, and what we saw is exactly the tooling for the crates, and I thought the crate itself is an archetype of a stool, because you sit on it. So I made, again, a paper model, and at the right there is, in a scale, I don't know, of 1 to 3, I think so. Because of this stackability, I decided to make a stool for this room and installation. And again, for the tooling, they always try the crates if they really work. And for that, they take a plastic, but the plastic is completely mixed in colors and in material of soft plastic and hard plastic. And they have one room with the plastic, and I thought, okay, can we recycle that plastic which is in that room? And they said, no, it doesn't work, because the molecular structure doesn't work, and it never gives the same color. It only will be a gray, something gray, sometimes more red gray, and sometimes more green gray, but they couldn't make a color in one. So I said, okay, perfect, let's take the material. And they have one machine for a plastic injection machine in the cellar, just to try the tooling. And I said, okay, let's do some stools with that. So that's the production. And this is my wife and I, and we tried it out by the first time if it really lasts a lot of weight. Yeah. So and they're still warm, and this is one of the first which came out of the machine. And so the stackability really worked, and some of them are more gray, and some of them more light. So then again, back to the installation in the museum, in that room, and then we just put 1,000 stools in one room. And this I wanted to make some installation with it, but I found it much more interesting just to put them in it, and that's it. So we did, and it has such a yeah. And people at the exhibition could pick a stool at the opening. Every visitor could pick a stool and take one stool home. And the idea, I forgot completely to say, in 1980, the exhibition was very successfully internationalized, but in the city, nobody went there in Linz. Nobody saw it, so they have even days when not even one visitor came. So the idea of my installation was just that everyone gets a piece, and that's it. So they really, to make it very simple, everyone has to take a piece, and and everyone could take one. Yeah, and this is also by the installation. The installation was supported by Vitre, which bought the whole installation and paid the whole installation, and yeah. Then the stools came into several houses and several positions, and I wanted. I'm still collecting pictures of people who have that stool at home, and I wanted to make in that room again an exhibition where the stools went. And people from US, and the stools are in New York, and they're even on the West Coast, and there's some in Asia, and so on. So they're really spread all over. And I wanted, that the pictures of the stools, and especially in the center of Linz, the stools should become a part of the city. And some people take it for washing the car, and some other just take it for something. And the stool also is going in different exhibitions, and they often use it as the stooling for events, for example, for the Vienna Design Week and some other things. For museums, some museums have it, and so on. Well, this is a sketch and a wire. I wanted to make a lamp, a desk lamp, and in Europe it's forbidden to use the conventional pulp. It could change completely because it's taking too much energy, and you even cannot buy anymore the conventional pulp. And I wanted to make a lamp with a LED, with one single LED, because the LEDs, the development of the LEDs going up so fast, and the brightness of the LED is going up so fast. So I tried a little bit with the wire and the sketching, and this is also with the plastic. I tried a little bit and made, and afterwards the electricity and so on. And what I did is the cable is following a line, and then it's going into a steel tube, and at the end, on the tip at the end, there's only the one LED. And you can turn it more to the ground to focus it, or you can lift it up and more to spread the light all over. So you see it here by daylight, and you see it by if it's dark. So one is more focused to the spot, and the other one is more spreading up. Back again to the Wiener silver manufacture. They have even own masters just to make bowls in silver, and this is very impressive. And again, I wanted to also make a bowl in silver. And to be honest, it was not for me as a designer to make bowls. Because a fruit bowl, for example, is more or less useless and is more a decoration piece. But it was very interesting to make a new or other thinking about the silver bowl. So I did this again on 3 legs, lifted up a little bit so the fruit is not touching a table, for example, and then apple or fruit or something else you can put in it, and the fruit is spreading. It works with orange and ananas, but also with grapes and everything. They don't fall down because they have the energy to spread by themselves. And this is still a rendering, but it exists also in a smaller version and a lower version. This is a project with Moleskine. I go through this very fast. This is Sissi, maybe you know. It was the princess of Austria in 1874. But there's the jewelry of the princess was made by Köchert, and not even for the princess, or for all kings and so on. The crowns and everything was only made by one jewelry maker in Vienna. So this one is very old, and it's still owned by the family. And the two guys are cousins, and they're still the Köcherts, and they're still responsible for the crowns in the museum to restore them. Yeah. And what it is a bracelet, and the idea of the bracelet is to make a hexagonal form, and the bracelet should only touch the ankle on three different points, and one point and the opposite point. And here see the making, and one picture is missing. Yeah, okay. And there are only 20 pieces of them made, and it's in solid gold and in solid silver. Yeah, and they're quite expensive, but still the aristocracy of Europe is still buying the jewelry at this jewelry maker. So this is a house in the Au Garden, and this garden is in the center of Vienna, like a little central park. And in this area, there's a porcelain maker, and it's the second oldest porcelain maker in the world. And it's founded in 1718, and it's founded 5 years after Meissen. And they still produce porcelain. And I come back to the sketches at the beginning, and they wanted me to make a vase for flowers, and this I wanted to make very straight and simple. These are the paper models, and here you see the making. And the making was quite impressive, so we also made a movie. And if you go on YouTube and write my name, you will find a video about the making of this vase, which is really impressive, because the person is a master of making the forms, and the form is also always made in, I don't know the English word, gips? Plaster. It's made in plaster, and the plaster is drying within seconds. So he has to work so fast, and getting the plaster in the right condition, not too hard, not too soft, to open the forms, the tooling, and everything. It's quite impressive. So this is the vase, and the idea is that the conus of, if you have a flower, yeah, you have a conus if you hold it in the middle, and to take the conus and just to put it on 3 legs, because then it's standing quite well. And you see it here from different sides, and here you see it here a little bit in the production process. Yeah, here a little bit from photographed from different sides. This is another project. This is just an idea. There was Eternit inviting different designers to make a product, and they are working in concrete. That's a concrete company, quite a big one, the biggest one I think in the world, dealing with concrete. And what I did is just a monolith with this hole. And the workshop went over 3 days, also for drying and so on. And all my designer colleagues said, "What are you doing here?" And I did not explain. And what is it for? And at the end, then I demonstrated it. And it's for sitting, that's it, and for leaning. Yeah? And so the cut out piece exactly fits to the back, so you can lean on comfortably. This is a 3D print, and this is already the tooling for a steel cutlery. for Karl Mertens, and this is a quite young project, and just happened a few months ago, and still is in production, is still in development. Now it's finished with the fork, the knife, and the spoon, and in a smaller size too. And now the other pieces are following. So it will have a range for fish and for smaller ones and for serving cutlery and for salad and so on. So we're working on that, and the work will be finished at the end of the year, but you already can buy it. And this, at the beginning, I showed the cutlery in silver. And the cutlery in silver, a fork and knife and a spoon costs about 1,500 euros, which will be $2,000. And this one costs a spoon, for example, costs 14 euros, which is maybe a little less than $20. So this is very affordable, and this is a product in high production. And yeah, it's very nice to look at the machines when they go doof, 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 like that. Okay, this is a chandelier for Lobmeier, and as I mentioned, they make big, huge crystal chandeliers. For example, the crystal chandelier in at the Opera House in New York is made by Lobmeier, and in all the castles from the Russians and the France and the Austrians and the dynasties, they are the big Lobmeier chandeliers. They invented these pieces, and they even made the first chandelier with electricity and asked Edison, and Edison came over to Vienna by ship to make the first electricity chandelier for Lobmeier. Yeah? But they have no product with LED, and I wanted to make a crystal chandelier, just by one crystal, because the huge crystal chandeliers, I went into the shop and asked, so what do they cost? And they start up with 20,000 euros at the beginning, small size like this. Yeah. So I wanted to make a very affordable, super small chandelier, and the idea is just, again, to make a tube and at the end LED, just to give the light through the crystals. And therefore I draw different crystals, and we tried out which one really works and so on. And the idea is not having only one, but if you buy yourself one, maybe somebody else gives you another one, and somebody else buys another one again, so you can adjust it to a big chandelier and to have a huge piece then. Another project I showed in Milan 1 year ago. It was just on the other side of the street, vis-a-vis, is a model maker, and the model maker has a machine for the printing machine. You probably have the same printing machine here. And this is just a plastic dot by dot, like a print, and that's it. And I asked him to make different chairs, 10 different chairs in the scale of 1 to 5, and I put it all together on a table. And what I showed then in Milan at the Zona Tortona was a table with 10 different models in the scale of 1 to 1. The idea was that in my sketchbooks, I have so many sketchbooks about chairs, but the chairs somehow don't work, one or the other. Yeah? And I will never ask a company to produce a chair like this. But still, when I open the sketchbook, I think, okay, it wasn't so bad, the idea, but it doesn't make sense to follow the idea again. But to make it in a scale of 1 to 5 without any recognition of ergonomics, production, and everything, just in this small scale, it makes an idea just to make this sketch in a kind of a 3D sketch. So I showed it, and a lot of colleagues said if I'm completely crazy to show like sketches around. But at the end, some of them go into production. But for example, this one should be a chair when you only put in concrete or sand or something, and then you can sit on it. And at the Milan Fair this year, we will present this chair, but in leather, and you don't put sand or concrete in, you just put books in it. Or your record collection from the 70s you can put in. And then it's heavy enough to work, but the measurements are different to here. Yeah. And for example, this one was the idea to make a chair in a scale of 1 × 1 meter, as 1 cubic meter. And this one, was in leather and so on. I also showed them in Sofia during the Sofia Design Week, and I found this table in the academy in Sofia, leaning around, and I asked them to replace them from the conventional pedestal to take these tables, and it worked quite well. I will follow. I will go back to the project later on with another project. This is porcelain again with the Augarten, a little bit mixed over, and you see here the making of the plates. And the plates are very simple, and they all have just the vase, just a vase like this. And I made the complete porcelain service, and it's called Shortcut, because it's very simple. For the Augarten porcelain, in the last centuries, they have for each dish, they have a different porcelain. For each soup, tea, coffee, I don't know, saucier, and so on, you get crazy with it. So I wanted to make something which you have just the basics, and they stay the basics, and to bring also this old porcelain making to a much younger audience. And so it's a small coffee cup, it's a bigger cup, and so on. And the bowl, for example, is the bowl for everything, for the soup, for the cornflakes, and whatever. And I wanted to make a porcelain which you also take when you eat in the couch in front of the television, and not only by inviting other people. You see also here the cup, the hug. Well, going back to the project I showed you is the chair 1 × 1 × 1 meter, and we did that chair just 2 pieces, just for the Vienna Design Week to show this idea once again, but really made, and it's made in oak, and it worked very well, and the manufacturer in the Neue Wiener Werkstätten, they're so smart, I don't know, and they made it happen to make a construction completely in wood, in oak wood, like this. And you have to imagine that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces coming to one point, and they made it very simple. Also, of the production of this chair, there's a film existing on YouTube, which you can watch. And the idea is that you very easily can sit in it, so you can really lean on it like a fighter. You can lean into the corner of the fighting place to hang into the ropes. Yeah. And it works quite well. And this was the presentation of that chair. So this is a pattern, and I never made a pattern in my whole life. And this was a really interesting work, because the pattern should work in all directions, up, down, left, right. And it was the first time doing a pattern, and for fabric. And in Upper Austria, there's a company existing, Leitner Leinen. They make the fabric since since the Middle Ages, in linen completely, and that's the making of it. And they also produce the linen there, and they make it in a high quality. And sell it to UK, to US, to Dubai, and so on. So they can really produce in a high level, and the product is very expensive, but it really works. So it was the first experience to make a pattern, and any designer in the audience, I can just recommend try a pattern. For me, this project just started, and I really got in love to make patterns. At the end, I want to recommend you the book, and the book is also here in the library, so you can have a look in all the projects that I've made recently, and you can follow it on the website, and you can follow it on YouTube. Thank you very much for the invitation. So I hope you have questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems that the cardboard models seem to have directed the design
Yes.
along the way.
Yes, that's true. With the FX10, with the furniture for the Wiener Werkstätten, the only possibility to make it for me was the cardboard, to try it in a scale of 1:1. Yeah? And you see it on the sketches, there was much more rounded and much more soft in that way. But I tried it just with the cardboard and found out, okay, I just leave it like that and take the edges just for putting the leather into the edges. Yeah? But the cardboard was leading, somehow. And I still love to make models in the cardboard because they go very fast, and you can try easily some forms and so on. Yeah.
But does that process sort of actually help you to simplify the sketch then? Have you found a system for yourself?
No, not a system like that, but it helps me a lot. Yeah, I need to have imagination about the product in a scale of 1:1, and therefore it's much faster to make a model. You have a model within an hour. Yeah. And then you can see it, you can take it, you have a proportion, you have a feeling for that. You can even show it to somebody. And without a great investigation, so it's going very fast, easily. Yeah, and I often take a cardboard which has a form inside. Yeah. So if you cut it, it has a certain stiffness. Yeah? And for example, for that chair, you can even sit in the cardboard model. Yeah. And with the other cardboard, I made it under construction, so you have a little to stabilize it. Yeah. So yeah, but it's like a 3D rendering. I think it's good to start not with a 3D rendering and not to start with a model. Just first make up your mind and try to make paper models which go much faster, and not jumping right into doing. So just first trying.
Yeah, it's interesting. The planes are consistent whether you're working with flatware or a chair or any of the other products. The planar language is very much the same, and I wondered if that was what you designed or whether the cardboard was leading that, but it seems like it's a combination of both.
It's a combination of both, I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Please.
Is there a difference in your process when you're approaching a design brief that has a lot of constraints around it, like the office system or the pattern, versus one that you're showing in Milan? I'm just curious, how is your process different when approaching those two things?
Of course, the process couldn't be more different than that, because on one hand, a company comes to me and says, "Can you please make a design for that product?" And on the other hand, I make a design for a product, and I go to a company and show the company the product, the design. So they are completely two different ways. And one way is more following the the rules of the system more of more economics, and the other one is more following the system of art. Some pieces are only sold in galleries, for example, and that's more. I wouldn't say it's art. It's not, but it's working more in auctions and galleries and so on. And the other one is just working by selling in the shop. Yeah. So it's a different process, but I try to be independent in the design in that case and in the other case too. Yeah. So.
Are you at a place where you're independent now and you can make sure that you have enough time to do the art? Or are you still kind of forced to do?
I showed you at the beginning the sports product, and with the sports products I had the problem that I was not leading what I'm doing. The companies were leading what I'm doing, so they asked for more, another ski binding, and again another ski binding. So I had made 10 ski bindings. At the end, I said, okay, what did I really do? I was reacting, but not acting by myself. So that's what I try to do now, is acting what I wanted to do. For example, with the cutlery, I wanted to look out for a company which is producing cutlery, and there was none in Austria except of one silver company which producing silver cutlery. So I try to be active anyhow, even if office furniture or a one-off piece, it's by myself to give the direct direction, and this is changed my life completely. And this is, the certain point. If you ask for the difference of both, yeah. Please.
Are you happy with the trajectory that your work is taking right now, or do you see another life-changing direction happening soon? Or if so, what direction do you see it going?
For me personally or general? For me personally, I don't follow a direction. I try to do what I like, and what I like is changing permanently, and it should change and will change, and is changing always in a process. Yeah? So what I showed you here is pieces of the past 8 years, for example. And there are not every year 2 projects, and the next year again 2 projects. Some years I have 10 projects, and the other year I have only 1 project. So this is more going into, like say, collections. Yeah, one collection following the other. So the last pieces you have seen, the cutlery or the porcelain service and so on, is products I made for. In 2011, last year, yeah, and some others are done 6-7 years ago. I want to change, and I do change. I will change, and I think the basic of creativity is changing the mind, to have the possibility to change the mind. Yeah. So a lot of people don't change their mind, and they're stuck mostly in their taste of music, for example, in the age of when they was 18. Yeah, and and they listen to the music their life long. Yeah, and somebody who's working in a creative way. Has the possibility to change the mind, should change the mind every day, yeah. And if something is pleased to me last year, it shouldn't please to me next year. So I always, okay, it was good, but now it's not. Something else is nice to me. Yeah, I think that's also a kind of being active and not reactive. Yeah. Please.
First of all, thank you for your talk. I really, really admire your work, and I really find it fascinating, your whole process, your whole dedication, your whole, humbleness towards it in a way.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, and I'd like to ask you about craft. It seems that to you it's very important to work with the people that are doing the work.
Yeah.
And then you showed a picture of China, for example, and
Yeah.
then it seemed you didn't get quite that in there. So I guess, how do you approach this men and these people that they've been doing this for so long with all these new ideas, and how's your relationship with them? If you could talk a little bit about that.
That's you just mentioned. That's what it's all about. I'm really allergic about business people, you know, and everybody is talking about business, and you're the CEO and the general manager of that and that and that and so on. It makes me allergic. With the people who work in handcraft, for example, with porcelain is moving, is heated up twice. And it's moving by 14-15 percentage of the piece. And the material is heated up to a temperature where it's almost liquid. So if you make a project in porcelain, you should never talk to a CEO or a manager or someone. You have to talk to the one who's producing the form in plaster, and to nobody else. For example, with the vase, the manager said, okay, it's impossible to produce it because it had 3 legs, and how do you form it like that? Yeah? And then the plaster maker who makes the form said, oh, perfect. Now we have a form to form it like that way. Yeah? And now we can make this one really easily and very fast. And they were very happy. So the idea of handcraft is having the experience of the people and trusting the experience of the people. And with Mr. Schmidt, the master in the silver, I come there and talk with him first about his children, then about my child, then about the politics going on and so on, drinking coffee, and after an hour we start to talk about the product. And this is serious, this is real world, yeah? And I like it so much. And and I'm just making a furniture which will be presented in Milan. And I go there, phone call, do you have time? Yeah, I come here, next 10 minutes, I'm with you, and we sit together. It's very real, it's very personal, yeah? And like I wanted to change my life, talking to work with friends, together with friends, and not with business people, because the business people, they change every second year. You have some other people to talk to, and they make job hopping and try to get a better job and better job and better job and so on. So it only makes sense with the people who make it. Yeah.
Where do you see the future of design in those terms, though, with this whole system? The system, I guess, trying to get it, the manufacturer, everything fast.
It has a future, but I wouldn't say the future is the handcraft. That it's not. But it's an alternative for sure, and especially it's an alternative for cities, because the production in cities is something which has kind of a rebirth, and people now, for example, in Europe especially, spending more money on products which were produced in the area around with some artists, or especially in the city. So these are products where they have a personal reference to that. And it has a future for urban situations, but I wouldn't say the future for the whole human being is in manufacturing, in handcrafted manufacturing. I think there's an industry also needed, also industry producing high numbers. But in my travel, for example, to China, I was also visiting a company which were producing parts for snowboard bindings. Yeah. And they showed me the shop, the making, the manufacturer, And then the company also produces in plaster pieces for casinos in Dubai, so Baroque pieces. And I took a look inside to the production there, and there were kids working. Yeah, and so this made me shocking. Yeah, and making pieces in the area is also making shorter distances and driving in between, make it easy to talk and so on. So I was walking through San Francisco a little bit in the past day, and was finding so many craft production somehow in the corners. And I thought, okay, making this concept in San Francisco would really work. Yeah, there's so many things. So if you're a designer, please go somewhere. I just bought shoes. So this is real San Francisco shoes, made in the North Beach area. Pardon? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's a shop, and there are 3 shoemakers in that shop, and making the shoes by themselves. And this is a shoe construction they made, and with linen. And the first thing I would do is ask them, let's make shoes together, yeah, to design shoes with them. And maybe it will work because they make a living out of it, and the shop works, and they have a concept for that shoe. And but this shoe looks very conventional. It's not an invention in that shoe. Maybe you can invent something really new with a shoe, yeah, and so on. There's so many things you can do, and people are buying it. And for example, the fruit ball. The fruit ball costs something around 8,000 euros, something about $10 or $11,000. And in that case, I'm not designing for the consumer. The consumer for me is, in that case, it's not my target to convince the consumer. Because the consumer, like a tourist in San Francisco, they walk by, and maybe it's a Russian millionaire, I don't know, is buying it. Yeah? Okay, but my focus with that product is the maker, the one who is standing in the craft making balls since he was a child. You won't believe it. Yeah, he's working since a child in this company, and making balls, and I make this ball for him and not for the consumer. And maybe you can find a product you do for somebody who's producing a product in San Francisco, and the tourist who's passing by, okay, you buy it if you want it, yeah, but you can also leave it. There's no need to buy it. Yeah.
It does bring up the question of a child working in China who might grow up to continue to do the same thing versus this child which is doing this.
Well, the father of the ball maker was already working in that company, and the production was in the 7th district of Vienna, and the childs were playing in that company, and they grew up there. Yeah, but I believe so. He started working with I don't know, 13, 14, something like that. Yeah.
And these were even younger children that you saw in China?
In China, yeah, they were much younger than that, and probably they needed because of the small hands. And yeah, but it's not. I mean, it's not. I don't want to talk that like China is a bad country. No, it's not. The globalism. The companies try to produce where the work is cheap, where there's no protection of the nature, and they try to spend the money where it's cheap, and to pay the taxes where they have no taxes. And global acting companies have all the possibilities in each country. They take the best they can. Yeah, and yeah, in that case, it's for me. It's not my goal to work now for this super international. In my case, they are not super international companies, but it would make sense. It's now for making for electronic company, for example, that thing. Yeah.
Is there a product that you have your eyes on now that you really want to design besides the shoes, of course?
Besides the shoes, yeah. I'm thinking about the in between from design and architecture. The existing architecture, minimal architecture on just a few square meters, which are more like a product than a house. And the purpose of those minimal architecture is more using it as a product and as a house. And there's some architecture was referring, in my opinion, more to the product design than to the classical term of architecture. And in that case, I think that's a very interesting point I want to follow. But I want to do also furniture, but not too much. I wanted to be a product designer and not a furniture designer. So it's also important to make other products. But for example, I focus my mind on products which last for a long time. For example, for a cutlery, you buy it and you leave it and you live with it and you have it for centuries and you never throw it away. Maybe it's going lost somehow, with a family, I don't know, And same with the porcelain. It's materials which have a big sustainability, and glass, for example, is a good material, is a nice material, and an underestimated material, I think so. And so is porcelain, or so is steel. For example, the steel, the cutlery is made in Solingen, which is the center of cutlery making and scissors making and knife making in the middle of Germany. And even the steel is coming from Solingen. It's produced there. And the company has no steel on stack. They just order what they need, and so it's all made in that area. And most of the cutlery brands, are made in an area of 5 kilometers in that circle. Yeah.
So where's the raw material for the steel in that area?
That's a good question. Yeah. You can ask the same with the porcelain or with the silver, for example. That's a good question. Of course, steel is coming from somewhere else, not from somewhere. In that case, Germany, in the middle of Germany, are the steel makers like Krupp and others since also a long time. And the steel, I don't know, Eisenerz, the material coming from the rocks, from the mountain, they are exactly in the area is coming right at the area there. Yeah, about in an area of 10 kilometers away, the steel is made, and the material of the steel is from the earth there. Yeah, in that case, it's local. And with the silver, for example, there are a lot of silver mining around the world, of course, but in Austria, in the region of Tyrol, and also in the south of Germany, in the region of the Schwarzwald, there were the big traditional silver minings, and there's still mining silver there, and the price of silver in the last 2-3 years has more than doubled. And so it makes sense to dig the silver out of the rocks in Central Europe. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Design Week in Vienna and how they're actually promoting these crafts and bringing international designers to work with them as well? I think that's a very interesting experiment.
So Yeah, the Vienna Design Week is a very young design week. It exists since 4 years, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger again. And it's a whole city about design. And of course, the designers present, the companies present their work, and so on. But also there's a lecturing going on, and so on. But they have a certain format. They called it Passionswege, passion ways, if you want it, ways to passion. And so you can walk through the city and find some crafts, some companies making products and so on, together with designers or artists, for example. And there are some of the works are going into a product, and some don't, but they find another way to communicate and to bring this design thinking into a partner like a company or an institution, a museum or something else.
But who's making the match? I'm interested in that. Who decides who's going to work with?
Then is doing the organizers of the Vienna Design Week, in special, you know them, Lily and Tulga. Yeah. Please.
Is the story of the crafts people as well as the story of the materials, is that communicated in product as a consumer would buy it? And how, if so, how?
It's not communicated specially, but of course it's communicated with the company and with the company. Now, San Francisco is pretty far away from Vienna, but I couldn't. Of course, you don't know the company Augarten, but in Vienna, it's like everybody knows it. Like that's a company in the city. And even Charles and all people know the company, and they're producing in the park in the city, and there are tourists coming with buses and want to show there, and they have a coffee there, and they have a big park and so on. So they know about the product, and they know about the history of the company, and you for sure you know big figures of horses on the back legs, standing up with a rider like a Marc Aurel or like a Napoleon riding like this. This is very typical for Augarten. Those products come from Vienna, from Augarten, and they have very historical figures like, I don't know, in porcelain, and yeah.
Craftsmen, where the materials are coming from, and that I just feel like that's where the elevation of craft kind of breaks down, is in the communication.
That's true.
And
but that here I agree completely. That is something. It's like design. Some of the crafts company follow still making old pieces again and again and again for tourists coming and said, okay, I want that, without innovating new products. And for example, Lobmeier with the glasses, I showed you the entrance of the shop. They do with Stefan Sagmeister. They do with Jenny Holzer. They even did with Alva Alto. They did, and so many designers and so many artists. They invent projects and new projects and new projects. At least they make 1, 2, 3 projects a year. They make with Mark Brown, maybe, you know. They made with Max Lamp from UK and so on. So they all make, and with that designer they communicate it somehow. But some of them they have a big lack of communication and even of design. But for a designer, it makes it really interesting to find a company that's like I don't say the Entdeckung, and discovery. You have to discover. You go around and you can discover a company, and work with them. You can be the first designer working with that company on a piece, and this makes it very interesting. And of course, the company is not into the design business and not into the thing, but you can take them into the design business. Yeah, you can say, okay, this museum shop is selling those products. Come, put your product also there in the museum shop, or you can combine things. Yeah, so the porcelain is presented, for example, at the Maison et Objet in Paris, together with the cutlery, both of them. But the companies are far away of them. But now they profit from each other, and so you can, as a designer, you can tease them, yeah, and make it interesting for them to work. For example, a friend of mine, he was working. He wanted to make a chair. He wanted to be a designer who has his own chair, and he did it with woodworker who just makes. Never did a chair in his life, and he makes only kitchens for houses. And he made this one chair together with that person, and he invested on machines, making one chair, next chair, and so on. And now he's one of the chair producers in Austria, and producing in high numbers, and doesn't do any kitchen anymore. Yeah, so it changed completely, and I think as a designer, you don't bring just the drawing. Yeah, you bring different thinking, and what you can also bring is a communication, and what you can take the company into the design world. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.